God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, so we were talking on Wednesday about Hockett's design features, and we stopped with total feedback. And total feedback, remember that is how we get not only feedback from others, but from ourselves. And we were talking about proprioception, and what is proprioception? Proprioceptive feedback. What's proprioceptive feedback? Think about, we talked about where your legs are.
Oh, be able to not see it, but like you know how
You can
something
tell when
is.
it's hot.
Yes, very good. So knowing where you are in space without actually having to see it. Knowing where your articulators are without having to see them. Okay. So proprioception is knowing where you are in space or where your body parts are in space without actually seeing where they are. It's that sensation that you know where you are. So we get feedback not only from an auditory and a visual sense, but also from proprioception. And animals, other animals recognize sounds that are produced by other animals. So they do have this total feedback as well as humans. So our next area is specialization. Specialization is that speech is designed for speech. All right? Now, the structures that we use for speech, our body structures that we use for speech, tell me about those. Are they specifically designed for speech? No. Okay, that was a question on the test. It's our structures that we use for speech are specifically designed for our biological function, right? We borrow them. Respiration is used for breathing. Resonation is our tract in which our nutrition and food travels and the air moves in and out. Phonation and the phonation is the vocal cords. Vocal cords help to protect our airways so that food does not go into the wrong cavity. Articulation is our teeth, our tongue, and all of those oral structures that help us to masticate our food and break it down so that we can consume it. But those structures are also used for speech, okay? So speech is specialized. Speech is designed for us to communicate, all right? So although we use the structures we used are borrowed, speech, the only reason that we use speech is to communicate. That's its function, right? So it is specifically designed for the purpose to communicate. And we don't speak for any other reason but to communicate, right? There's no other reason for us to speak unless we want to communicate. So that's where the specialization comes in. Also, other species do communicate. They have their own specialized communication, right? They make specific sounds for specific actions. How many of you have a pet? Okay, what do y'all have?
My dogs.
Dogs? Everybody's dogs? Anybody have something other than a dog? I have cats. I have 2 cats. Right now I have 4 cats in the house. I think I told y'all. So how does your dog communicate? Think about it. What are some ways that the dog communicates? We're going to focus on dogs since most of y'all have dogs.
To each other or just in general?
How do they communicate in general?
Whine, bark.
Okay, good.
Their tail,
And what's that?
like their tail, like if they get excited.
Okay, wag their tail. Okay, so what are they communicating? What does that mean?
They're happy, excited.
Okay, so when they wag their tail, okay, they're communicating that they're happy, right? What are they communicating when they're barking very feverishly?
They're anxious.
Okay, so they're indicating that there may be some kind of danger, right? When they're whining, what are they communicating?
They want something. Like
They want something. Maybe they want to go out, right? So they, just like we as humans, have specialized communication for specialized speech. They too, okay? Same thing with cats. Cats meow, they purr, they hiss, so birds, they will tweet or sing certain songs, make certain sounds based on what they're trying to communicate. Now, some of this communication, like Andrew mentioned with wagging the tail, is non-verbal. It can be through other means, through, gestures, wagging their tail, panting, all right? Now, some of that is often, some of these gestures in any of our situation are often miscommunicated, okay? We assume as humans when a dog pants, they're thirsty, but that's not necessarily the case. Dogs pant just to, it's just a way to be able to let off oxygen, okay? It's not necessarily meaning that they're thirsty. So it's part of a biological function. The same thing with us as humans. We may look very tired, all right? And so you didn't get any sleep last night, so you're looking very withdrawn and tired, and so the person you're communicating to may assume that you're bored with them. But that's not what you're meaning to communicate, okay? So gestures of sort, come on in, can get misinterpreted.
I'm so sorry,
Okay.
Miss Barbara.
That's okay. Traffic is a thing, I know.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so specialization, speech is designed to communicate. So, now let's talk about arbitrariness. Arbitrariness is that there is no relationship between the sounds that we make and the meaning that we attach to them. We kind of talked about this on Wednesday when we were talking about Rachel Ray, in that she kept saying EVOO, EVOO, and now we have, like Andrew was saying, do you want Evo with that? Okay, so it's just arbitrary. It's just happened. And, these are just some other examples that I pulled up in, Mondays. So now it's just been assigned, no particular method. It's just from use and acceptance, okay? Why do we call it? Why do we say hashtag? Why do we say, post? I'm going to post a message. Why do we say hello to mean hi? Because somewhere, somehow, somebody created that, and it became accepted that is what you say when you come up to somebody. It's very arbitrary. There's no rule that says, okay, it has to meet this criteria before it becomes a word. Okay? So I'll challenge all of you to come up and make a new word and see if you can make it stick. All right. So, and the other thing too is that language has different meanings in different countries. Okay, so for example, when we say a biscuit, what's a biscuit?
Like
Pillsbury.
a Pillsbury biscuit.
Pillsbury.
that you got breakfast.
Like a Pillsbury biscuit's layer of bread, right? Does anybody know what biscuit means in England?
It's like a little cracker cookie thing.
It's a cookie.
The cookie?
In England, a biscuit is a cookie. Okay? And there are several other words that we have the meaning that we attach to it, but in other countries it has a different meaning.
Chips.
Yes, chips, fish and chips. You know, chips for us is like potato chips, but chips for French is French fries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So for us it's French fries, but they don't call them French fries. They call them fish and chips, which is French fries for us. So yeah, it just depends on the culture and what is the meaning that has been attached to it, which can cause some problems with communication, right? I remember the first time my children, we were talking about something, this is recent, and they say, wow, that's dope. I'm like, huh? I was like, what are you saying? My perspective of what dope was totally different from how they were using it. And I was like, what are you saying? And they say, no, Mom, dope means it's good. I'm like, really? When did that come about? You know, so words that we have used in one meaning are now being transformed to mean something else.
For like fish and like chips and all that. So whenever going into my senior year, we there was like an education field trip to Europe, and I went. It was to Germany, and we went eat at this place, and I don't remember what I had, but I had chips, quote unquote, and I was using my hands, and I got told by some stranger how disrespectful that was. I had to eat it with a fork, and that was the weirdest thing in my life.
Exactly.
That was so
Even,
weird.
yes.
I did not like that.
I know. Isn't that weird? And you know that you bring up a very good point, Andrew. As a speech and language pathologist, you have got to be aware, and we're going to talk about this at some point, about different cultures, because you have to be respectful of other cultures in how you interact with your client.
Other than that, they were nice. Just I don't like you eating chips with hands.
Exactly. Well, and in some different cultures, you don't, you know, if you don't talk to the wife or the children, you talk to the father. You know, he is the authority of the family, and that's the person that you communicate with. And, you know, so you have to be aware of those different nuances as you work in a community, because you'll be offensive to people if you don't. So, okay, so back to arbitrariness. It's, you know, we decide amongst our society what words mean and how those meanings change and so forth. Animals don't come together as a group and say, hey guys, we're going to do this and this is what it's going to mean. It's more of an innate type of situation with them, that they are able to distinguish these different, you know, whenever they're barking, knowing that that's an aggressive conflict versus if they're, you know, wagging their tail. With cats, they know that if their ears are down or their ears are up, that's aggressive versus a friendly, you know, and it's not that they've decided this amongst themselves, it's just an innate thing that they develop. Okay? All right. Next, discreteness. Discreteness refers to that each language is limited to a discrete number of sounds. Now, we've already talked about this, in that for us, we in English, we have 44 or 43, depending on who you're talking to, of discrete sounds that you make. And y'all may look at this and it's like, what is this? This is actually phonetics. You're going to get to this when you get to phonetics. And why this is important is because when we write, when you're going to be working with clients and they are, let's say they're saying the word for cat, they're saying tat. So they're substituting the T for the cat, the C sound, right? That C sound. But what sound does C make? Is that a C? Okay. So C, as you'll notice, there is no symbol up here for C. C either makes a K sound or, what else? S. C in and of itself doesn't have a sound. So you wouldn't say the client substituted C for T. You would say you wouldn't say the client substituted T for C. You'd say the client is substituting the T sound for the K sound. The K sound. Okay? So phonetics is different than our alphabet, because different words, different phonemes make different sounds. So we have to get into that discreteness. It's very discrete. Now, this is our discrete sounds for the English language. This is different than for other languages. So, like, for example, in Japan, they don't have, the Asian language doesn't have the R sound. It's very difficult for individuals who come from Asian population to be able to transition to English language because they don't know how to make that R, that sound, because they don't have that sound in their discrete category of sounds. So, every area, every culture is different as far as discreteness. Okay, same thing, we have discreteness for animals as well, right? How is that? How are the sounds that the animals produce discrete? Does a dog sound the same as a cat or a bird? No. They have their own discrete sounds that they produce, right? Dogs produce a bark. Even if you heard a dog barking and a wolf howling, or a dog howling and a wolf howling, you can tell the difference, usually, right? Because it's distinct. So animals also have this distinction. Okay, so let's see. Next we'll talk about some of my notes I hate that when you use like Word and you highlight it and it says in this very light blue and you can see through it. And then you print it out and it's this very dark blue that you can't see. That's my problem. I'm having to look really close. This is just more about discreteness. You can see the English language. Here are all the sounds of the English language. Here are the Filipino language. These are the ones that cross over. Here are ones that like we have and they have and we don't have and so forth. Okay, so you can see that discreteness there. That's all that was for. Okay, interchangeability. What interchangeability is the we have an unlimited ability to exchange communication. Basically what that means is we can say anything we want to say, right? Just by how we rearrange our words. Or, not even by how we rearrange our words, but how we produce our words. So, interchangeability. Think about how I had you write those sentences with those 3 words. You could rearrange them in every different way. I can take, would you like some butter, some bread, and peanut butter? Okay? I can change that to, you would like some bread and peanut butter. Okay? Bread and peanut butter is very likable. It's very interchangeable. I can make it a question, I can make it a statement, and then I can rearrange those whole words to make a whole different sentence. So words are very interchangeable. Now, this is not something that we typically see in animals, right?